Hi, I'm Samantha Kriegshauser, and I'm the CEO of Adult Enrichment Centers. And today we're going to talk about some of the challenging behaviors that come with dementia and Alzheimer's. And we're going to start with talking around what is a repetitive behavior, why do people ask repetitive questions, and some tips and tricks that you can use to help you with your loved one at home. So I have with me Cassandra. She works with me at AEC, and she's been trained in dementia as well. So we're going to talk to you about some things that you can do.
Sure. What do you mean when you say repetitive behaviors?
So repetitive behavior can be something that someone with Alzheimer's does, such as they're picking at things. And that comes because they have eyesight issues, and they don't realize that, like, this floor would make people with dementia have a lot of repetitive behaviors because of the coloration on the floor. Those spots look like something that needs to be picked up. So our folks would be bending over picking them up. So it's an eyesight difficulty. And other repetitive behaviors can be rubbing of the hands, and they can do this until they have literal blisters, picking at their skin, or shredding a tissue or a napkin. We had a member who, anytime she had a tissue in her pocket, shredded it, and it looked like snow was everywhere. So those repetitive behaviors can be really challenging for families because they don't know what to do, especially if it's resulting in spots on your skin or things like that, or if the person is picking up spots on the floor and they fall, that's an increased risk. So families are often struggling with what to do with that.
I know it's so hard dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's itself. And the one thing that I want to do as a caregiver, I want to fix it. I want to make things as easy as I can. Is it that clear cut? Is it, if I see this, I can do this and it will always work?
No. Unfortunately, with our folks who are going through this, it's always different. So we try a lot of things. So the things that we're going to be talking about today are tips and tricks, things that we have seen work, but you have to understand that nothing works every time with every person. So it's okay to experiment.
Gotcha.
You know, if you want to try something different, try it. And maybe it buys you some time, and maybe it keeps your person calm for a few minutes. But the next time you try it, you have to understand it may or may not work. So that's not a negative. That lets you be creative. And you're always improvising on what will work for this person right this minute.
It's more about having some tools.
It is.
To work with. Understanding each person is different, and like what may work today may need revision tomorrow.
Right. So some of the things that we can do, if it's a hand repetitive motion, the picking or the scratching or shredding, then, you know, we can try putting something in their hand that's safe, like a stress ball. Give them something tactile to touch. It can be something as simple as a washcloth. Sometimes a dry washcloth, because they'll just rub it, but sometimes you might want to have like a warm cloth, something that has a little heat, because heat can be soothing. We just want to make sure that the person doesn't get burned. If someone is picking up things off the floor, we might try removing rugs. One, it's a fall risk, but two, if the pattern is making someone bend over constantly, then maybe that's a distraction. Of course, you can't rearrange your whole house, but, you know, we try to reduce as many of those opportunities as possible.
True. What would you say is like an ultimate no? Because families, we're doing the best we can. So with the skin,
we don't want to put creams or lotions on the hands. You know, when your kid was learning about thumb sucking, parents put all different kind of hot sauce and different things on their thumb to keep them from doing it. We do not want to do that. One, as we're aging, our skin is very, very fragile, and we don't want to do anything that could harm the skin. Two, our folks don't necessarily recognize danger when they have dementia or Alzheimer's. So if I put something on my skin to keep me from picking it, I could rub my eyes, I could put it in my mouth. There's a number of things. So we want to be super careful and not use lotions or skin ointments to prevent that. It won't work anyway. But you can also do more damage.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the repetitive questions, which
when
can
are we
be
going home? Where are we going?
Hard to deal with.
Is it time yet?
All day.
So why do you think they ask repetitive questions?
Could it be that they don't remember that they just asked the question, or
short-term memory loss? So I don't recall that I just asked you and you answered me. So it popped into my brain again, and so I asked the question again. Sometimes it can be an anxiety thing. If we're going somewhere or I'm anticipating something, I
Right.
may get repetitive about asking it because I have anxiety around that. So if your person is still capable of reading the written word,
Okay.
and that's not true for every person dealing with dementia, if they are, then you might try having a posted schedule
Okay.
and go through it with them in the morning. Like, all right, Dad, today, remember, you have a doctor's appointment at 9:00, and we're going to go then. We're going to leave at 8:30.
Right.
You know, you might give reminders. I know with my dad, we get him up and we're like, okay, remember, Daddy, we've got an appointment at 9:30 today. And then I remind him in the morning because he comes out and he moves slow. He has a schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll give him frequent reminder, Dad, 15 minutes and we need to go.
Right.
Those can help prevent some of those repetitive questions. If they can't read the written word anymore
Right.
and posting note or a schedule isn't going to help, then you might want to just give them those verbal reminders, but you also might want to try to distract them.
Okay.
So if possible, maybe this is a good time to go for a walk.
Okay. So like
Families-
a redirection.
Absolutely.
A redirection.
And, or
Okay.
is there a task they can do? Is it time for their favorite TV show? Is there,
Gotcha.
now we have technology, so you can use things like Alexa.
True.
Let them ask Alexa 50 questions. But use what you can.
Yeah.
But sometimes just a change of location or environment can help pause those questions. Families feel guilty because after the 400th time, you
frust-
tend to snap.
Yeah, you're
And
frustrated.
then we feel bad because we know that they can't help it. And that's not anything to feel bad about. That's welcome to being human.
True.
If you get asked the same thing repetitively, finally you're going to just say, I've already answered that. Stop asking me.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not anything that families should feel guilty or have, anxiety over.
It's natural.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Try what you can, but sometimes, you can't go for a walk and you can't
Well.
relocate from that environment. So it is okay to just not feel obligated to answer it every time
Every
they
single
ask
time.
it. What you just did.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
active listening. So that's a tool that you can use, and you just keep on doing your work, and eventually, hopefully they'll move on to something different if you can't redirect them into an activity.
As a daughter, I caregive for my dad. And one of the things I want to do is I want to fix it. I want to do the best that I can to try to make things a little better for him. We talked about having tools that can help us understanding that each person is different. What may work today may not work tomorrow. What would be some of the things that you say are a definite no? We talked about the repetitive picking of the skin. We do not want to put lotion, hot sauce, anything that would.
No.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but in the moment, you're trying to figure out
right.
what will make them not pick until they have blisters. What else would you say is kind of some of the let's not do these things?
Well, when someone's asking repetitive questions, for example, you don't want to try to reality orient them.
Okay.
So let's just say they're asking about a certain loved one who may have already passed away.
Okay.
So, our brain is logical and we want to say, now, Dad, Mom died 2 years ago.
I see.
That's our instinct because it is true and
It's
it
the
is
truth.
reasonable. But we don't want to keep doing that over and over for the person with dementia.
Gotcha.
So it's okay to say a little white fib, what we call a therapeutic fib. Dad, that's a good question. Let me check and see when she's going to be here.
Gotcha.
So you didn't say that she wasn't coming or anything.
Right.
You have to do what you're comfortable with, absolutely. But we also don't want to keep upsetting the person
True.
and hoping that this time they're going to remember whatever it is that you said, because it isn't likely to happen.
Gotcha.
So we don't want to give bad news on a repeat. Okay.
Gotcha.
If they're asking, when are we going? You can try setting an alarm. You don't want to ignore every question like they're not
Right,
speaking, because
right.
this is a person and we do want to be respectful and kind. But you may need to take a break. This is where, like I suggested, take a walk or, take 5 minutes out so that you don't lose your patience. The biggest thing is just to remember who you're talking to and your tone and your approach, and remember that everything needs to be treated with kindness.
Gotcha. And I like that do not it's their reality.
Yes.
Their reality, you know,
Unfortunately, we have to join them in their
where they
reality.
are.
They can't join us in ours. And that is
Gotcha.
hard because we're logical.
Gotcha.
So, if I have a member look at me and say there's a pink cow flying through the sky, yes, and it's a lovely shade of pink.
Gotcha.
I go where they are. And then if they look at me and go, well, silly cows don't fly, you just kind of laugh it off and you go, you're right, they don't. And their reality is constantly changing.
Gotcha.
It's our job to try to adapt to that the
Right.
best that we can.
Right. So we talked about repetitive questions and repetitive behaviors.
Yes.
Kind of some of the do's and not feeling guilty when we kind of have to just actively listen or try to redirect.
So if you wanted more information, you could always visit us at www.adultenrichmentcenters.org
Okay.
or our YouTube channel. You can follow us on there for more information. And once again, we just want families to know that there's help and tips out there for repetitive behaviors and repetitive questioning.
Thank you.